Whoever else is on, good morning. Michael? Okay, good morning, Michael. Okay, we're going to start with our learning sponsors. Year of Learning by Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser, friends of Leonie Meiselman, Leah Sabra Bas Chanok Zundel, friends of Mel Skotsky, Moshe Zelig ben Mordechai, Martin Lipman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bat Pinchas. A month of learning by Mendel and David Cheslow in memory of her father, Nehemiah ben Mordechai Yonah Halevi, Aaron and Mel Haller in memory of her mother, Malka Rachel Bat Yehudi Leib, Yossi Goldstein in memory of his father, Moshe Tzvi ben Dov, Isaac and Eda Novik in memory of his mother, Miriam Gittel Bas Hanoch Henech, Perry and Jill Meltzer in memory of his mother, Malka Bat Baruch, and his sister Godalea Bat David Halevi. Tova and Leo Zimmer in memory of her mother, Henya Bas Beryl, and her father, Aharon ben Yosef Mordechai. B. Pizer in memory of her husband, Rav Yisrael Chaim ben David. Stanley Presser in memory of his mother, Leah Bas Yehuda, his mother-in-law, Golda Bas Leber, and his wife, Ruchel Mincha Bas Moshe. Rabbi Dr. Yankee and Malki Honig in memory of his mother, Rabbanit Hensha Ita Bat Chaim Yehuda. David and Sharon Karpel, Rabbi Tzvi and Robin Karpel, in memory of David and Tzvi's father, Zeb Moshe ben Shlomo Yaakov. Carol and Josh Sanborn, in memory of her father, Yehoshua Shia ben Moshe Yehuda Kohen. Sarah Alpert and family, in memory of her husband, Harav Tzvi Lipa ben Hillel. A week of learning by Sherry and Moshe Gross, in memory of her mother, Miriam Bas Meir. Barbara Gallendauer, in memory of her husband, Avram ben Yonatan. Harriet Goldman, in memory of her husband, Hillel ben Gershon. David Sagbeir, Judy Sagbeir Gannon, and Jonathan Sabgeir, in memory of their father, Aaron Simcha ben Chaim Sado. Today being the 9th of February, we have a day of learning by Sam Levine, in memory of his mother, Livsha Bas Avram Shammai, and also a day of learning by Charlie Gelfenstein, in memory of his mother-in-law, Livsha Bat Avram Shammai. And Hashem is having Aliyah, Krank Rafia, Velti Yashir, Hashem Ataliyah, and L'chol B'nai Yisrael, a good Gabanshki. Okay. 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 All right. For today's daf is Yud Zayin. Right? Amud Aleph. So I want to start in a moment with the top of the Amud, okay? But I want to point out one quick item as we go into today's Gemara. When I was preparing, the Gemara seemed very focused on asking, I thought it was an underlying question. What is the difference between somebody who is a Nazir already and they become Tameh, okay, versus somebody who... Good question, Baruch Shekivanta. I think the Gemara, that's part of the reason the Gemara is dealing with that. Okay? We're going to see at some point that question becomes particularly significant. Okay? Right? So we have somebody who's a Nazir who becomes Tameh, okay? Could be through whatever means, versus the question of somebody who is already Tameh, and then they take on a Nazirite vow. Okay?
Which makes no sense.
Well, you're right, but the point is, if you have somebody who's a Nazir and becomes Tameh, okay, we know that we know already up to this point that the Gemara has informed us that they have to bring unique or special korbanos, okay? All right, in that situation. We don't know that yet, okay? But they have to go through a certain situation. They don't bring the same korbanos as one normally would when they complete their Nazir term, okay? Whereas if we flip it and say the situation is somebody who's Tameh, and then they take on Nazirship, okay, how is that? Okay. So I just want to point that out, because there seems to be I'll call for the moment, a tension in those situations, okay? All right, well, we're going to...
Didn't we already have the case of someone who was in a cemetery? And
that's the guy who becomes a Nazir when he's done.
Okay. Okay, we had that example.
Right.
Okay.
Don't do it, you don't do any.
Okay, so we have one option, exactly as Sid is just suggesting, that they tell him not to, he does it mela in any case, okay? I don't know, that's why I learned Gemara, okay? On the other hand, or I tried to learn Gemara, okay? On the other hand, okay, we've also had a situation, okay, was reminded by the fact that we could have somebody who's a grave digger, okay, and has asked to be excluded, has had to have one exclusion from the Nazir status, okay? But still, nevertheless, wants to choose to take on Nazirite. Okay, so we have all sorts of what I'll call for the moment permutations. Michael.
Yeah, just in both cases, if you're a Nazir for 28 days and you become Tameh, you lose and you have to start over.
Right.
If you take on Naziris while you're Tameh, again, there's a machlokes whether it's chol or not. But if you assume that the Naziris does commence,
right,
the start date is deferred,
right,
until after his tumah is eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, and that's going to be critical, you do not go through the Nazir cleansing ritual.
The normal Nazir cleansing
ritual.
Not a
Nazir yet.
Correct.
So you can't do the Nazir cleansing ritual. You do a normal cleansing ritual.
To get rid of the tumah, and then you start Nazir. Okay. All right. So, so that's why I just wanted to present that at the outset. Okay, as we now go into the Gemara. Okay. Hachabamayas Kinan. What are we talking about? Okay. Here we're getting back to our machloket. Okay.
You want to eliminate the machloket, the Reish Lakish position that it didn't.
Right. So primarily we're seeing here a series of challenges to Reish Lakish. Okay. What are we talking about? Biyotze v'nichnas. Okay. So the implication would seem to be he exited, he purified himself, went back and made the vow again, okay, and then he re-entered the cemetery. Okay, that's why I said Sid's question of whether it was done on purpose or by accident is a very valid question. Okay, Eitive. But Rabbi Yochanan comes back and really he's challenging Reish Lakish again. Eitive, I'll challenge him with our following text. Im bein tameh, right? Ein bein tameh shenazar. There is no difference between a person who was tameh and made the Nazarite vow, lenazir tahor shenitma, to a person who is a Nazarite and is already pure, but became tameh, ella, with the exception of tameh shenazar, the person who was already tameh and took on Nazariteship, shvi'i shelo olelo leminyan, that the seventh day, okay, in other words, the day when he would finish his tumah, right? And then goes into the tahara process, exactly, Ruben. Okay, right? On that day, on that seventh day. And that day then can count towards his
start of his week.
Right? Start to the next step in the process, which would be, okay, yes, Al.
Only if you agree that makes us any because you started the day coming and then he became coming.
That would only be right. That would be true. Okay.
So
right.
No. He went to mikvah in the afternoon. But English much we counted as day one. That's what
okay. The Nazir Tahor. So what's the opposite? Nazir Tahor Shenitma, and an already existing Nazir that is pure and became Tameh. Ein Shvi'i Shelo Olelo Laminyan. The seventh day does not then count in that same situation. Okay, so what happens? If he's a Nazir and he became Tameh, what does he have to bring? Right? Does he bring the normal Nazir offering to finish up his term? Or does he have to bring the special offering to complete his tumah? Okay. Would he have to bring both? 2 sets? Okay. Right. So that becomes a little bit of a more complicated situation.
He would bring 2 sets if the tumah occurs.
Right.
In the morning of
the
30th,
seventh, brought the other one. Exactly. Okay, so what happens? So here again, v'isal gadatach lochaim. And if you are going to suggest, as Reish Lakish suggests, remember that's where we're going back to, that machloket, okay, that the Nazir, okay, that it doesn't take, that the Nazarite vow doesn't go into effect. Okay. Right. Amai olelo laminyan. Why then should it be counted towards his count? Right. Amam mar bar Rav Ashi. And I just want to quickly point out, notice who's saying this. Mar bar Rav Ashi. Why is that so significant? What? It's significant because if we're looking at the Gemara for a moment historically, Ravina and Rav Ashi were the ones who edited the Gemara. So if you have Mar bar Rav Ashi, you're talking about either someone who was already involved when his father was quite advanced in age, or you're talking about another generation after Ravina and Rav Ashi, which we talked about as the generation of the Saboraim, right? Okay. All right, so what happened? Okay, we don't know if he was around then. Okay, Michal, his argument is what? That it does occur. Kuli amalo plige dechale. According to him, everyone is in agreement that, right, that it does take effect. Even Reish Lakish, right? Ela ki pligi, but rather where do they argue? Le malke, whether it regards to the punishment of Malchus. Rabbi Yochanan savar kevan dechayle lake. Rabbi Yochanan holds that since when he's a Nazir, and since when he's Tameh and he takes Nazirite vow, right? That's what happened. Reish Lakish savar lo lake b'chayle. And Reish Lakish says, no, he doesn't get Malchus, but the vow does take effect. Okay. Now Rabbi Yochanan's going to challenge Reish Lakish again. Eitive Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish. Hey, and notice this time the Gemara puts it in for us, reminds us that's the case. Misha Nazar, Vahu B'Veit HaKvarot. Okay, somebody who took on a Nazirite vow while they were in the cemetery. Afilu Hayasham Shloshim Yom, even if they were there for 30 days. Ein Olim Lo Min Haminyan. Okay, it does not apply to his count. Okay, Ve'eno Mevi Korban Tuma, and he does not bring a korban at the end of his Tuma period. Okay, Korban Tuma Hudelo Maite. Okay, this is Rabbi Yochanan's argument. Our Mishnah or our Braita here actually says he doesn't bring a Korban Tuma at that period, but Milke Lake Ale, but he still never gets. Nevertheless, is to get Malchus because he took on such a vow in such a location. Okay, Badinhu dilitne eino lake. Okay, it seems logical then that our text, our Mishnah or our Braita should have taught that he doesn't receive the Malchus. Ela mishum dekabai lemitna seifa. But since it was necessary to teach what was there at the end of the text, yatsa v'nichnas, okay, that he went out and came back, olelo min haminyan, that in that situation, there was a period of time when his Naziris was clearly chal, okay, between the time that he left, okay, did his tahara, then went later back in, okay, right? It does count. Umevi korban tuma, and therefore that's why he also has to bring a korban tuma. Tana Resha, eino mevi korban tuma. But our Tana taught at the beginning of the Braita that he does not have to bring the korban tuma. Okay, so implication is what? Okay, that we don't have a clear proof to discredit Reish Lakish's position. And therefore, we bring another Braita. Tashma. Listen to the following Braita. Ein bein tamei shenazar. There is no difference between a person who was tamei and they took the vow of Naziritship, l'nazir tahor, to an existing purified Nazirite, shenitma, who became tamei, ella, what? With what? Shetamei nazir shvi'i shalo, olelo min haminyan. That okay.
Tamei guy who takes.
Right. That the person who is tamei, who took on the Nazirite vow, the seventh day does go to part of his count, right? V'nazir tahor, but a Nazir who's tahor shenitma, who became tamei, ein shvi'i shalo olelo min haminyan, that the seventh day then does not fit, it does not apply to his count. Ha lemalkot ze v'zeh shavin, but in regards to the fact that they took the vow, okay, or did something that was inappropriate, nevertheless, they got Malchus. That is applicable in both cases. Same. Okay?
Both get the same.
Right? They get that, right? So Reish Lakish now tries to respond. Amar lo. He says, no. L'tiglachet zeh v'zeh shavim. No, they are both at the end, okay, both of them, since they did take a Nazir vow, okay, and regardless of whether they took the Nazir vow first and became Tameh, or that they were already Tameh and then took the Nazir vow, in both cases, to complete their Naziritship, they will need to have Tiglachet.
No, to complete their tumah.
Okay.
They need a haircut.
Right. Well, that, okay. Aval le'inya malkot mai. But in regards to the malchus, what's the situation? Ze loke v'ze eino loke. Reish Lakish says this one gets malchus and the other one does not get malchus. Okay, so the answer is litnai. So let the Braita teach that. Okay. So what happens? B'takanate ka'maire. Okay. Reish Lakish answers, no, what we're talking about in our Braita, the reason it doesn't spell that out is that it's talking about the, so to speak, remedy is what it's dealing with, but with violations, bekalkule lo kamaire, it's not dealing with any violations. That's why, and therefore what punishments would be. Okay, but again, we see we don't have a complete referral. A complete refutation. Thank you, of Reish Lakish. So we go to another bright. Tashma. Listen to the following bright. Mishaya tamei v'nazar. One who was tamei and took on the Nazarite vow. Asur legalech v'lishtot yayin. Okay, he is prohibited to shave or to drink wine. V'im gilach v'shata yayin v'nitma l'meitim. Okay, if he got a haircut or drank wine or become tamei mace, right? Harei zeh sofeget ha'arba'im. He's going to be punished for any of those infractions of Naziritship, okay, by Malchus.
Including the tumah.
Okay, all right. And notice, by the way, in the language that it only said at first, Asur legalech v'lishtot yayin, it did not mention the issue of tumah there. Why? Because he's already tamei. But what happens in the Sefer of the Braita, okay, if he does any of those three things, since he's already tamei, okay, he still gets malchus. Yeah.
What is the situation here? It says he's already tamei. Does that mean he's tamei sheretz or Terry or something like that?
No,
and then he becomes tamei mace.
I'm assuming it's
So
tumas mace.
But if he's already tamei mace, then what does it mean that he's
Why did it
tamei mace again? Or he's already tamei.
Right, but that's the implication. In other words,
why we had the
that's
cases in the carton.
okay. That's why.
In the box and
Okay, we'll get to it. All right, but that's why I'm suggesting that the beginning of the Braita only listed the prohibitions of shaving and drinking wine. Okay, but then goes in to say, and were it such, even if it's that he did shave or did drink wine or has become tamei mace, okay, implying that maybe if he was tamei from a different situation, okay, it would be different.
No, it's not going to acquire tamei mace if he's already tamei mace.
That's why I'm saying, Alan, it could be, were he to be tamei for a different situation, out of another from another phenomenon, okay, that would be different.
All they would do is reinforce what he already has. They wouldn't add it.
That's if he's tamei mace. Yeah, Michael wanted to add something.
Yeah, I think it's simply saying, look, he's already tamei mace. Now, this price, we had a machlokas earlier. Does the tumah start or not? I mean, I'm sorry. Does the Nazirah
Start or not? Right.
So as this price is saying, even though those days do not count toward the totality of the Naziris. If it's a 30-day Naziris, none of those days count.
No.
Nonetheless, since he said he's Tameh, since he said
Says-
he's a Nazir,
Sir,
from those moments on, he
He
cannot
can't.
drink or shave.
right.
And
And having already
because he
been
was already Tameh,
Tameh,
he gets malchus for all his violations. If he says, "Oh, I can have a drink. I'm not a Nazir till I shave." He gets nailed. You'll have to do malchus twice. And just as an aside, since we're on the topic, the Ran back in
Nadarim,
Nedarim said that there is a malchus for shehiyah, for pushing something off. If you make a pledge and you never pay it, you get malchus. So he says that this guy would get malchus also because he's intentionally pushing off his naziras on at least 7 days until he
Right.
can.
That I think what's significant, at least to me, was the fact that the point is that he's that the writer at the beginning said the first two and then points out, in other words, by taking on the vow of Nazirus already in his status, all right, already in his status of being Tameh. Yeah, that's the problem.
The person who's sitting in the base of Eros should get malchus for every day that he's staying.
Exactly. Okay, Tiyufta. So the Gemara comes back, right? The Gemara now says Tiyufta. That seems to be a strong enough proof against Reish Lakish. But the Gemara isn't satisfied with that. Why? Because we go on. By Rav. So Rav is now going to present again. All right? Rava asks, Nazir v'hu b'veit hakvarot mahu. Okay? If a Nazir then is in the base clothes, okay, or he took on the Nazirite vow, what is the status? Ba'e shehiyah, okay, so that leads us into now another example, another situation. Ba'e shehiyah lemalkus, lo. Do we say then that his lingering in the cemetery, okay, all right, having been in the status, having taken on Nazirit, which should begin immediately once he expresses the vow, okay, all right, and therefore because he's Tameh, then he's got to put it off, is what Michael was saying, 7 days to get through and finish his completion of his Tuma status before he can start his Nazirit status, okay, because normally we only think of Shehiyah with an example in the Beis HaMikdash, okay? That's the normal example, right? So does this same concept apply here in this situation? Okay, that's his question or not? Hechidami, how is it comparable? Asks the Gemara. Ilema da amre le. If it was such, and here we come back to Sid's question at the outset, okay, where he did it, even having been warned, he did it on purpose, right, Sid? That was the question. Ilema da amre le lo tinzor. If it's such that they told him, don't look where you are. Don't make a vow of Nazirut here while you're lying on that, or lying next to, or in that cemetery. Okay. Lama li shehiyah. Why then do we even have to discuss the whole issue of shehiyah, of lingering?
They told him don't do it. So
right.
That's enough.
He was in,
that's Asra.
right?
That's the Asra.
And that's right. Nazir, my tama lo by shehiyah, to come matrebe. Okay, so what's the reason then that we don't bring in the whole question of lingering of shehiyah? The kamatre, because they specifically warned him in that situation. Hachanami kamatre. Here too, we would say that they warned him. Okay? Ella, as we go over now. Okay? What happens? All right. So this is why Sid's question at the outset was good, because there, if he took the vow and they warned him, what's the situation? He did it the dafka, okay? Another with purpose, all right? Ella Kigon, and I'm going to read into the Gemara here the word Nazir, okay? Shenichnas b'sheda, teva umigdal, but a Nazir who could have somehow, for whatever reason, entered the cemetery, boxed in a carriage or a trunk or a closet, okay? Uba chaveiro upara me'alav, okay? Ma'aziva.
This guy
Okay, and another person came and he removes, and the translation he removes the plaster flooring unknown to the Nazareth inside the container, okay, and therefore this is accidental tumah. Okay, that's Sid's point from then, right?
So now he should be given a couple seconds.
Okay, so upara me'alav me'aziva. So what happens there? Ki gamrinan shehiyah. Okay, if we're going to learn here the situation of shehiyah, and make a note to look at Art Scroll 17b, note number 4, by the way. Okay, B'Veit HaMikdash. But don't we normally say that shehiyah didn't we only learn it there? And wouldn't it seem to apply only in that situation and not in this situation? Avrai, no. But outside of the Beis HaMikdash area, no. O Dilma, Lo Shana, or perhaps there's no difference. Teku, we don't have an answer. Okay, we go on now. Okay, now why somebody would do that to a guy, a Nazir in a box, and remove it to dafka make him.
Because he was a wise guy.
All right, yeah, I know guys in here might do that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Because he thought he was covering his wife.
All right. Okay. By Rav Ashi. Okay, so now we come back to Rav Ashi. So again, we say Nazar v'hu b'veit hakvarot. Okay. So now this is the question that Rav Ashi is asking. A person took the Nazarite vow on, and he did so while he was in the cemetery. Ta'un giluach olo. Is he required to have hair cutting or not? Okay. Now, normally I would have asked the question, Ta'un giluach la'achar shenithar, after he became tahor, o ta'un giluach limlaot nazirut. Okay, o shnehem, or both of them. Does he need one set? Does he need the haircut to finish his becoming tahor after his tuma? Or do we say, no, he doesn't need that set, that particular haircut. He still needs the haircut after his nizirut, okay? Or do we say he might need both, okay? But in any case, let's see Rav the discussion. Ki ba'e tiglachat, okay? When he requires the haircut, tahor shenitma, that's a situation like any other case of somebody, right? Of somebody who was a normal person. He was tahor and he became tameh. The kamitame, the nazirute. Why? Because then he becomes tameh in the status of his nazirut. Aval tameh shenazar, lo. But somebody who was tameh and then took on the Nazareth vow, okay, maybe that in that case, we would say at the end of his tumah, he doesn't need a haircut because he's going to get it at the end of his nazirut.
And his nazirus is deferred
anyway. Right? O Dilma, or perhaps Lo Shana, or maybe there's no difference. Tashma, let's try to answer this question with a bright. Misha Nazar, one who took the vow of Nazareth, V'hu b'veit hakvarot, and he happens to be in a cemetery. Afilu hayasham shloshim yom, even if he were there for 30 days, eino ole lo min haminyan. Those days do not count towards his nazirship. Ve'eino mevi korban tumah, but he does not have to bring a korban to complete his tumah period. Korban tumahu delo might, a korban to complete his tumah, he does not have to bring. Aval giluach bai, but he would nevertheless still need to get the haircut or shave at the conclusion of tumah period. Matam kamar, what's the reason that this was said? Matam eino mevi korban tumah. What's the reason do we say that he doesn't have to bring the
Mishnah says,
right? Right, that it says it doesn't have to bring the korban tumah. Mishum delo ba'e geluche. Why? Because maybe it's because he doesn't need to get the haircut. But I'll bring another bright. Tashma, ein bein tamei shenazar. There is no difference between a person who is tamei taking on the Nazareth vow, l'nazir tahor shenitma, to a person already Nazareth who is tahor and then becomes tamei, ela tamei shenazar shvi'i shelo olim lo min haminyan, except that the tamei person who takes on Nazarethship, his 7th day, okay, can be counted towards his count. V'nazir tahor shenitma, and a nazir who is tahor, who then became tamei, ein shvi'i shelo olelo min haminyan, that the 7th day does not apply to his count. What's the situation? Okay, lav ha letiglachet zeh v'zeh shavim. What? Isn't it we saying that the haircut applies in both of these situations? No. Ha lemalkot zeh v'zeh shavim aval tiglachet mai. No, says the argument. We're saying that the prohibition and therefore the punishment of malchus would apply in both situations, but the haircut, we don't have an answer. Zeh megalech v'zeh eino megalech. Are you saying that one has to shave and one doesn't have to shave? Litnai. So let that be taught in our Braita. Let it spell it out. Tana shvi'i shelo v'chol mili. Okay. No, what happens is that the Tana taught in regarding the fact that the 7th day does count for him and all things associated with it, which means that the shaving also. Okay? Tashma. Listen to,
because that's the next
right?
morning.
Right. So what happens? Listen to the following Braita. Ainli ele yemei tumato. Okay? I only have these days of his tumah. She'eino lin lo min haminyan. So the days of the tumah do not get counted on behalf of his Nazareth. Yemei chaluto, the day that of his confirmed tzara'at, minayim. What about in that situation? V'dinhu. And it seems reasonable to say the following. Ma yemei tumato megaleach umevi korban. Whereas we know that as a result, I'm going to say of the days of his tumah, okay, at the conclusion to become tahor, he has to shave and bring the korban, right? Af yemei chiluto megaleach umevi korban. So likewise, it would seem that it should be at the end of his confirmed saras period, he also should have to shave and bring an offering. Uma yemei tumato ein olim lo min haminyan. And whereas the days of his impurity do not count towards his Nazarethship, af yemei chaluto ein olin lo min haminyan, then therefore it would be similar that the days of his confirmed Sarat also should not count, okay, towards his number. In that case, lo, no, says the Gemara. That may not be the parallel, right? That's a binyan av here that they're trying to do. Im amarta biyamei tumato. If you're going to say regarding the days of his tumah aren't going to count. Shekain mevatel bahen et hakodmin, that these days of tumah nullify or forfeit what came before it. Lefichach ein olin lo min haminyan, and that is the reason that they don't count towards the days, the term of his Nazarethship. Tomar biyomei chaluto. Are you prepared to say, I'm going to phrase it that way, that as a result of the confirmed days of his tzarat, she'eino mevatel et hakodmin, which do not necessarily eliminate or forfeit earlier time period? Okay, so there is not an exact parallel there. Lefichach olin lo min haminyan. Shouldn't they then count towards allow those earlier days to count? Amarta, you've said, Uman Nazir bekever shesa'aro ra'ui l'tiglach. And now you've said that the Nazir taking the vow, okay, who did so while he was in the cemetery, that his hair still requires a haircut. Ein olim lo min haminyan. Okay, those days, okay, do not count for his Nazarethship. Yemei chaluto, the days of his confirmed sarat. She'ein ra'ui l'tiglachet, where he does not even have to have a haircut, no requirement of a haircut. Okay, at the end of his tzarat. Lo kol shekain. Isn't that all the more so? She'ein olim lo min haminyan, that they shouldn't count towards that amount, his Nazarethship. My love tiglachet tumah. Aren't we then talking about a haircut, okay, to conclude his tumah period? No, says the Gemara. Tiglachet tahara. The haircut comes as part of the process of purification. Achinama mistambra. And this then seems logical, right? And we'll just go over a tiny bit. The isagadacha tiglachatuma, because if you thought that the haircut was done because of his purified status, yemei chaluto milo ba'i tiglachat, wouldn't we therefore have to argue that the days of his confirmed sarat, he also would need a haircut then? If you're going to have a parallel between the two? And the answer is lo. That's not the case. Tiglachet nizirut katani. No, there we're talking about the fact of the need for a haircut at the conclusion of nizirut. And that's where we'll stop right there.
That last part a little bit wrong. With regard to the guy who is a Nazir, if he becomes Tomei, he gets a haircut at the end of the tumah period, that is associated with Nazirus.
Right, that's what the end of the Gemara says.
But the guy who has Saras, he gets a haircut, but that's a Mitzorah haircut.
But that
has nothing to do
with Nazirus. It has to do with his.
Right, that's what it meant, Roy Galea. In other words, that you can't.
But that's why we went over to the top of it.
Okay, you can't associate.
To show that it's not to do with Tumah, it has to do the other hand.
With Saras.
The other has to do with
with it now. The only problem would be he has to go at least 30 days
To finish
to
the
end
Nizir.
in Naziris. Whether the days count or not, it is almost irrelevant because he has to wait 30 more days. All right, let's go.
Good morning, Fred. Take care.
It's astonishing that there are more than a dozen prices. I mean, like, who in his right mind would become a Nazir in a semi? It's like beyond belief that they went into this in such excruciating.
Well, that's why the question is, at what point is some of the text theoretical, and at what point?
I
Yes.
Like there's something that all this Gemara is theoretical, that something and not in the cemetery. How about today? We're on the nice. You're telling me if you go to some not. So what happens when someone says I'm a Nazir? His mind is there. What do you do with him?
He's a Nazir,
For the rest
period.
of his life?
For his left and his right. Right. Right.
Like this Gemara is like in the door when you should have a subtitle. Keep your mouth shut.
Good morning, Jules. Yeah. Thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. Hi, how are you? Good. Have a good one. Good morning, everyone.
Sherry's in.
We're all in. Who do you got?
All right. You got the email I sent you? Okay, so you had asked me about that project. So we moved that up. Okay. So then I also indicated that we have an account that we draw off
Okay.
to pay for certain expenses that we incur in the show.
Okay.
Okay. So Karen asked that we apply whatever balance we have to pay from that account.
On account.
Yeah.
You're talking about your personal account.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that would include.
Wait,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. Okay. So our cover the following. This is what I did. And basically, it includes the $25 for the office fee. It includes the $500 and the finance funding.
That's the writing of the new color?
Okay, then I'm starting and then this is for the, I don't think we should do the diamond, but this is for the student for the Mishnah. So that's another one. So it's another $50.
You know, to order the meal.
Right here.
Yeah. What is it?
Sandwich line.
Okay.
Yeah. That is for the two of us.
Yeah, no problem. I will.
We've spoken. I don't know what has happened to the board. Michael and I have gone over for a budget. Okay, and we had agreed on. I don't know if that was approved. I don't know unless I say that. I don't know but the Wednesday night thing was a little bit where that we were going to do. So in order to do that, we had to update like that's what we were going to pay. We get 4 different speakers, as opposed to we used to do it one person like the whole season. Almost. And then this year we decided we would try this more closely. More people come in. Well, now there's so they were getting 450. They were getting 150 per lecture. So for 3 lectures, that's why it's 450. Whether we'll continue with that format for next season, we'll wait and see how this.
So I think what I'm leaning from this conversation is I think this is going to anyway. And look, I just think we could do a lot longer. So,
no, but I understand. I don't, I know that I gave him written material.
I guess one here, the one here.
The problem
I want to get rid of these.
that we don't allow
Yeah.
any meeting.
No, they're not garbage.
Run on
I think you have to hang in the piece inside of here. Let me get the.
So the program sort of overlaps. So that's,
Okay, so forget this
we
one.
would
I have
budget
another
based
one.
on the
I have another
school
one
year,
of these.
like most, educational.
Right.
Okay, so that would go.
Can you use any of those?
Right. But then we do sometimes the summer as well. Summer we haven't gotten that far yet. Just ask him how he would like.
This one's garbage. Michael, hold on. Or Shira. Hold on. Let me get
Last time that was.
let me get the other one that looks like that. I have another one that looks like that.
Then once we saw that,
And let me get
we started doing stuff in June. And our faculty from there.
okay.
And that's through everything. You know what happened there?
Everything else.
How you doing?
All right.
Okay,
Thank
have a
you.
great day.
Take care.
Are you sure? I'm gonna do my hours. Anything else?
There's a service, huh?
You know, this is my man. You know how to fall also? I saw a picture in the, yeah. Good.
Lenny, you could start a side business there, you know. Bring in a few bagels, you know, a few muffins, you know.
I used to be proud. When I worked for the Department of Social Services, I was in charge, there were 500 employees. I was in charge because the money went to UKA and then NAACP. I was in there big money. And when we had a Christmas party, I was the chairman. They called it a holiday party. And we made all the food was brought from Williamsburg. People didn't know. You know, we had a lot of Jews, about 200 TV. Malcolm's going to be here today. So what happened is, from Williamsburg, there was so much people in the Galatians, there were cold cuts, and then I separated the Jesus and everything else, kosher cheese. Nobody knew. Over there, what did we make? Over $5,000 profit. UJA have. It used to be then that was only. But when I took over, I was always the chairman of the union over there, you know. So when I took over, I made half to go to UJA. Nobody objected. Well, I became a big shot over there, you know. So, yeah, but that was the release before I went to court. Very nice. Okay, yeah. Very nice. You're doing it, let me tell you, you're doing a good job, man. Since your picture was in the book. Yeah.
So when does Shoshana leave for Israel?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah. Big class, you know. No, I was there 4 months ago for a big one. Mr. Scott, there's another class.
You have a lot of family there, Leo?
Yeah, both John. My grandchildren. I have also so many cousins, maybe 60, 70.
Wow.
Yeah. And then grandchildren in Leo. And four grandchildren already served in the Israeli army. Then they go for this way, and now I have one grandson. He's living in Cairo. So it was the army that promoted him. First, they became an officer for tanks.
Wow.
He had 5 tanks under him.
Uh-huh.
He wanted to quit. They promoted him again.
Yeah.
Commander of he's only 22. Commander another 10 tank. Aerial tank.
Yeah.
But he was the intelligence officer,
Uh-huh.
not the city tank. But he charged and all that. And when I went to the police, he told me, my wife, he just got promoted again. Now they put him in charge. The United States got them 40 grand in tax.
Wow.
Latest one.
Yeah.
Nobody's outside. Everything you see all around you, you know, the scooter and everything else. He was going to give me a ride.
In the tank?
But I had to go back home. But he said, that's the end, you know, because I'm going to be there for another 6-7 months.
Yeah.
And then go back to, want to go back to Yeshiva to try to do that. But meantime, he's an officer and
Now the army must feel that he's a very competent.
let me tell you, many of the yeshiva guys become officers, right? You learn, you know, the other stuff, the other soldiers, I mean, you know, they're not that much educated and all that.
Yeah.
And so they you know, they talk about the settlements, you know, give them away and everything. The Neve Daniel, which is right before
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
So Neve Daniel, almost all from 600 couples.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of shoes. Now they're building some more. These are the 70s, you know.
Yeah.
But they go to the army. The girls go to shops and see all the soldiers coming in.
Sure.
Very nice. And they're fun, you know.
Uh-huh.
The trouble is, you list, there's a non-former guys, you know. Most of them not former, you know, the soldiers and all that.
Right.
But they're not that well educated and everything. Former people, education, you know, so all about 21.
So I know a lot of the younger men that they have a program where they spend time in yeshiva, palm in the army, and then back in the yeshiva.
Way back,
Hester, yeah, he's in a Hester program.
He was in the Hester program, but two of my other grandsons were in the they were in the Hester, you know, they were also in the army. There was about what, 25 years, 30 years ago, I went almost every day now. So was 1967.
Wow.
1 week after the 6th
War.
So we were renting a car, and I also a shooter guy who was a captain in the Belgians. Of course, he wanted to come with us. He came with us, he had the maps and everything else. And of course, he was an officer.
Yeah.
He took to go to Yericho. I went to Moshe Machela. I was so disappointed. Not one Jewish thing. Everything was still Arabic and everything else. The sheet was very good. We went inside, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, there's road, we got stopped. So they told us free cigarettes. You know, at that time,
Sure.
cigarettes were cheap. Getting a couple of cigarettes. So we didn't come through here. I mean, it was, of course, now that we retired, we thought we were really everything. Listen, all the customers that want to show the grandchildren, we pay, yeah, at least half of it, you know.
Very nice.
It's not just to walk
Listen,
outside.
if you can afford that, that's great.
No, you know, yeah. No, we gotta buy this food from all of this food. Well, first by now, so that's what we paid for in, $2,000. And I told him, pick out the two. But usually it was about $1,000, $1,500.
I remember when we were in Israel in anticipation of one of our sons' bar mitzvahs, and I went and asked where I was learning, one of the Rebbeim, where to go get, because there was, at that time, there was a little bit of a friction between the Charedim and the Kippah Sruga.
Right.
So I wanted to go someplace where to buy it through somebody with Kippah Sruga rather than the Meah Shearim.
Yeah.
So he sent me to a place, and we found it, and not a big, but what was nice was that he brought my son with us, who was with, explained what was involved and what, and he was able to pick out and everything. And then as it was finishing, they had him come back and help do the stitching to close it up. And it was a very special. So that same son now lives in Israel. He's lived there for quite a few years already. But listen, it's.
I went to.
Yeah.
One here in
Yeah.
So, maybe you gotta come to see which I picked out in 2001.
Uh-huh.
So it was there summertime. We go to New York.
Yeah.
And God, black hat. I bought a black hat. They won't take it off.
Yeah.
Because my son-in-law is heavy.
Uh-huh.
He's so proud of the black hat and everything else.
Okay.
Yeah. the shul make any plans to our Kaira, the making
Which, oh, you mean for Dove?
yeah.
I don't know if the show is doing anything special. He told me that they're supposed to be getting married in March.
Yeah,
And-
married by not here.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, she's here. She was here at the dinner.
I took a picture of both of them
Yeah.
at the dinner. Beautiful picture.
Uh-huh.
On the photo, it came out gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I gave it to him, and she called me up, the color, and thanked me very much.
Seems, I mean, I didn't get a chance to really meet her personally.
Yeah.
But I know that was part of the reason that he had her come down, is that, it's to start meeting some people, meeting ladies particularly.
Yeah, my wife talked with her, I talked with her.
I know that they've decided not to use, he's going to keep his apartment, but I know that they want to try to rent someplace, primarily in Yarmouth, because she has mobility issues.
Right, I know that. No, as a matter of fact, he talked with me about, to help him out with the.
I suggested to him that that he contact Rochelle Dicker. That she did not come down. She doesn't think she's going to come down. She knows that somebody a neighbor of hers sold her apartment in that building. I happen to call her every so often to say hello, and because I was very friendly with Henry. I said, and it turns out Dove said that he knew Henry's brother very well. Okay. So I said, well, call her, or have your real estate agent call her up and find out, would she be willing to rent the apartment to you for a year? It doesn't mean she has to sell it, doesn't have to do anything. And I said, it's worth the phone call. If she says no, you didn't lose anything. I said, if she says yes, on the other hand, the point is at that point, that's going to be a lot easier for her in terms of the mobility issue. So it's up to him, whether he'll follow it up.
Well, I started pushing the rules, but I talked to him about it. We talked to some people.
I don't think they're prepared to do that yet. That's my impression. That's one. Right. But you're right. Yeah. That's, listen, it's a big step for him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hello there. Okay. Oh, they have a flyer out. Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's such a rush for me. Where is the weekly? Good morning. Good morning. Okay, super. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. What he wants to have.